Hello everyone, welcome to the Beamable package update video for Beamable 1.3. There's a new Social SDK. Let's go ahead and open up this script. To take a look at how this can work, let's first acquire a Beam context, and instead of getting the default context, let's get a specific context for some player. Let's make that allowed to be a class field. So we'll take in a public player code and pass that along to the Beam context. This will allow us to have multiple local beamable players in the one scene for demonstration purposes. Now we just need to await the context so that the player has initialized, and let's await this expression since it's asynchronous. And now we can access the player social service by using the social key. We can go ahead and set this to a class variable so that we can preview it in the Unity inspector. The SDK allows you to invite, view your invites, and cancel friendships. Let's start by inviting a friend. So we'll create a new async method called invite. We'll access this from the Unity context menu. And again, we'll acquire the context, and on the social API, we can send an invite to any particular other player ID. Let's take in the player ID from a public field. Can go ahead and await this expression since it's asynchronous. Now from Unity, let's go ahead and create a new game object called player1 and attach our friend sample script. And in the player code, say player1. Now let's duplicate this object and call it player2 and change our player code to player2. Now when we go ahead and run the game, you see that we have 0 friends and 0 invites. In the hierarchy, we can go to the Beamable Player2 object to view the DBID for this player by opening up the context under the authorized user and selecting the DBID. Now for player 1, let's put that DBID into the player2 invite and use our context menu to send the invite. Now under the sent invite section, we can see that this player has sent an invite to that DBID, and if we go to player 2, under the received invites, we'll see an invite from player 1. To accept an invite, let's copy the code and change the name to accept. Instead of calling the invite method, we can view all of our received invites, and we know that we'll have at least one, so let's cheat and access the 0th index and call the accept invite function. This is also asynchronous, so we'll continue to await. When we navigate to player 2, we can now use our new context accept function to accept the invite. We'll see that our received invites goes to 0, but we now have one friend with the player 1 ID. And this is also true if we go to player 1, the sent invite is gone, and now we have one friend. The content manager now has a latest updated field where you can see the timestamp of the last time a piece of content was updated. So if we select any piece of content and change something about it and republish our content to the realm, we'll see that our updated time now changes. You can sort on the updated time by selecting recently updated in the sort view. Microservices can now be built for ARM architecture as well as AMD CPU architectures. You can configure this setting by going to the project settings, and under the microservice section, you can look at the local microservice CPU architecture as well as the remote microservice CPU architecture. By default, these options are left to your system defaults. However, if you want to force all of your production builds to use ARM, you can enable that by typing linux/arm64. Microservices can now be archived so that they can be removed from your realm. In the microservice manager, under a service you'd like to archive, use the ... menu and select the archive option. If you select the delete all files, then all of your local files will also be removed. After you delete the microservice, it will be gone from your scene. However, if you go to the archived view, you'll be able to see them. And if you still have the source code, you can unarchive the microservice. Microservices can now access request headers sent from Unity. Open your microservice code. Inside any client callable on the request context, there is now a headers option, which includes method to get the Unity client version as well as the Beamable client version. This can be helpful if you'd like to diverge your server behavior based on the application version of your game. By default, Beamable always uses the production variant of Beamable, pointing to api.beamable.com. However, if you'd like to see preview features or test on a different environment, you can now use the environment switcher by going to Window, Beamable, Utilities, Change Environment. Here, you can edit all of your Beamable connection strings or choose from presets at the bottom. So if you'd like to switch to the Development Nightly Build track, you can click on Dev and then click the Apply button. This will force log you out and require you to log back in to a different customer associated with the dev.api.beamable.com account. When you want to switch back, you can either click your preset or click Revert to Factory Settings. And now it's time for the Beamable bonus tip. If you ever run into a problem with Beamable and you want to reach out to us on our Discord server, one thing that's really helpful to bring along is your diagnostics file. You can get a diagnostics file by going to Window, Beamable, Help, Generate Diagnostic Info. This will generate a JSON file that you can upload along to Discord, and if you take a look inside of what it is, you'll see that it contains the information about your version, your connection strings, any errors that occurred, as well as your manifest JSON and other project configurations relevant to Beamable. That's all we have time for in this package update video. Thank you for watching, and check in again soon for 1.4.